Just so much, extremely. This is what I wish they did in Season of Discovery. Just took those runes, nerfed them a lot, and just implemented them into the talents. Not just this clunky way that they did it in Season of what's it called? I can't remember. Sucking, disaster, horror, bullshit, Discovery. That's the one. Yeah. All right, we got some news from the Turtle WoW team coming out with the newest patch, and I think it's coming out very soon. It might be out at the time you watch this video, but let's have a look. I've just been checking it out. I haven't been going into each class yet, but they're coming with some crazy changes this time around. We're getting what Sword couldn't deliver. We're getting embedded class changes into the talent trees. We're getting new talent trees. So yeah, let's dive into this. The wait is over. Prepare for epic class changes. Crazy. And if you guys didn't know, I started a video series a long time ago. Basically, I wanted to cover every class change that they made in Turtle WoW. You see, I have this What Has Changed series, and I will probably be revisiting these videos. I have this What Has Changed on Paladin and What Has Changed on the Shaman, and I want to do a new series covering the newest changes once everything is out and I've been testing stuff. But yeah, and in today's video, I think we'll definitely be looking at the new talent calculator and the new talents, because at least for the classes that I know the Paladin, I know Hunter, I know Rogue, and I know the Shaman. I know those classes pretty well. Those are always level to level 60, and I'm very much in the know with those classes. So I think we'll be checking those out in today's videos as well. And but yeah, let's just start from the top. The wait is over. Prepare for epic class changes. After months of feedback, discussions, and suggestions, your favorite classes are receiving a major overhaul. Expect buffs, nerfs, unexpected adjustments, and more than a few surprises. Thanks to the community, Class Council, for their passion and enthusiasm throughout this year of development. They've spent 5,000 hours. Talent trees changed. All 27 talent trees has been changed. So, and we'll see when we get deeper into this. Messages posted in our class council. That's a lot of messages. Changelog length 80 full pages. Balance meetings held 56. Desks flipped in rage. Oh yeah, I know. 25 and 1 chair. Coffee consumed enough to power a small village. Raids quits from balancing debates. That's probably on the forums. 14 typos in changelog, probably a few. Yeah, that's okay. 42 mostly during nerf discussions. Keyboard slams, all right. Player suggestions ignored, only the crazy ones. All right. Greetings. Since the start of our class balance and journey, we've been gathering your feedback and insights. While we're happy with the first batch of class changes, those were minor class changes. If you've seen my videos, you'll see that these aren't like an overhaul in any shape or form. Those are additions. Like Shamans, they got Earth Shield at level 60. They got some minor niche spells added, but now they're doing a complete overhaul. So that's going to be extremely interesting and might push away some people, because it's no longer vanilla, it's no longer classic, but we might get more people from the Sword community who've including myself, pretty much given up on Sword, because it's just there's no passion in that, in my opinion. And I could go on and rant about that. That's not for this video. Let's continue here. We were happy on the first batch. They were done under a much more conservative mindset with minor changes, yes. And so, which wasn't bad. Those were great changes, of course, except for the Hunter changes. But I did never get around to make a video about the Hunter. I didn't like the just added steady shot, and that was just steady shot. That was your entire. I actually like the vanilla rotation where you do an aim shot, you weave in an auto shot, then you do a multi shot, but you have to consider, am I positioning correct, and are the mobs? Am I gonna pull if I do a multi shot, or can I weave it into my rotation and then another auto shot, maybe another auto shot, and then an aim shot? So there was some, like, you had to what's it called? Stutter moving, stutter stepping, so you have to stand still for auto shot and then weaving in your aim shots at the exact perfect time and stuff. And it ruined it a little bit with steady shot, because then you're just spamming steady shot. It became a one shot, one button rotation in PvE. So that's maybe most people, they don't probably care, but I actually think that Hunter had a special kind of interesting rotation when it comes to PvE in classic vanilla. So let's hope they've not gone too far away from that. But if it's a whole entire overhaul, they probably haven't. They're gonna make everything interesting. And the Turtle WoW team is just, in my opinion, up until this point at least, they've been had a great eye for detail. Like there's so much effort and detail going into their balancing, and I'm pretty confident that this is going to be great. But let's continue. And so vanilla unbalanced state was still very much felt. Due to this, it fell short on fixing the issues for some of the specializations and failing to make enough impactful changes. It has now been 2 years since those changes, and we are finally taking a deeper dive into balancing and building a solid foundation that will serve as the core for all specializations for years to come. These changes aren't the final word on class updates. Of course not. They're probably gonna fix bugs and adjust things according to whenever the community comes in and starts playing with it. There'll be more changes. We'll continue making balance adjustments and potentially soft reworks if specializations changes don't play out as expected. Please note that numbers are subject to change along the way throughout the 1.7.2. If they do, we will notify you accordingly. With that said, now ready to unveil the preliminary changelog for second batch of class changes. Coming in this batch, Tower of Karazhan, changelog will be updated. Any further changes and tweaks are made. All right. Gameplay changes. Weapon skill formula has been altered. Okay, interesting. In short, this means that any form of extra weapon skill now affects your characters linearly and no longer works with awkward breakpoints, causing weapon skill on items or spells to change in value based on your character's amount. So it's because there were some caps or breakpoints apparently with this the weapon skill cap. It's probably because you need the 5+ to avoid glancing blows, as far as I know. I'm not deep into this. Anyone who knows more about this will probably correct me in the comments, but I just know you need certain amount of, in melee, you need a certain amount of extra skill to avoid glancing blows. You can now acquire books that grant 5+ skill increase to specific weapon types via new quests. Okay, so you don't need to get it from gear anymore, which is actually, I think that's a nice change, because you being forced to wear a specific piece of gear, that might be up somebody's alley, but I like the greater freedom when it comes to PvE, but also PvP, of course. Yeah. Fighting bosses and creatures 3 levels higher than you no longer applies a 1% hit suppression, so the hit cap against them has been effectively moved from 9 to 8%. This also means that the soft cap of 305 skill that used to counteract the 1% hit suppression no longer exists. All right. In addition, the benefit provided by skill from 300 to 304 and 305 to 308 has been smoothed out. Each point of skill now providing the exact same benefit of 0.2 hit chance and 2% reduced glancing damage penalty. So yeah, that makes sense in terms of there being some sort of cap as to you need to hit this exact number, and then you would have the optimal effect of removing glancing blows. But now it's just smooth. As you go further up, you get less and less glancing instead of it being capped at certain thresholds. Reduced the amount of weapon skill granted by racials from 5% to 3%. So not getting rid of this, sadly. I actually, but maybe it provides some depth to the game, so it could be fine. But I think for me, I prefer maybe dare I say it, a retail version where there are no weapon skills. When you equip the new weapon, you're not, I can't equip this sword because I don't have any sword skill, and now I need to go to leveling zones and other places to level up my sword skill. I don't know. I don't find it an interesting mechanic, so I'd rather see it completely removed. But anyway, it's fine that this, for some people, this is more depth to the game. So throwing weapons now spend durability when used instead of consuming a stack. Okay, so this means you can repair your throwing weapon and not lose it. For this reason, the following changes have been made. The buy and sell prices have been increased. Throwing weapons are now disenchantable. Quests that give throwing weapons now only give 1 on completion. Creatures that drop throwing weapons now only drop 1. Vendors that sell throwing weapons now only sell 1 every purchase. Throwing weapons have higher durability depending on their quality, meaning that they can be used for longer without repairing. Throwing weapons now only stack to 1. Throwing weapons currently in possession will be updated retroactively upon patch, of course. Goblin brainwashing device. I have that one. If people don't know what that is, it's the dual talent specialization. That's I think there are 2 ways of getting this. You don't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but I think that you can buy it from gold in game, or you can purchase it as a quality of life thing from their donation store. So if you donate, you can actually get the brainwashing device without using your in-game earned gold, if you so prefer. Now it occurs a personal 10-minute cooldown after use. This cooldown persists through death and continues to count while offline. All right, that's fine. That's fine. I don't know if I thought there was a cooldown already on it, but maybe I'm wrong. You can no longer move a player between raid groups if they are in combat. Actually, should I show you guys this? I can just log into Turtle WoW. All right, so the one they were talking about is brainwashing device. There it is, Goblin brainwashing device, which I bought it off their store in here, where you can if you donate on the website, you get these credits. You can use them on a backpack, you can use them on a mount, you can use them on you can summon a mailbox, summon an auctioneer, and you can use this brainwashing device, which gives you the ability to have multiple specs saved. I need to fix my UI. I know, I'm gonna fix it. But now you see I have this specialization. I can buy apparently I can buy a third specialization for 100 gold, so I can free. But I have saved the first and I have saved the second specialization. I can reset my turns. I'm not sure if I'm actually paying for that one. But it's just nice to be able to swap between different specs. I'm not going to do it now, but this is how it works. And apparently now there's a... Oh, it is 5 minutes, so it's just been increased to... it's just been increased to 10 minutes instead. That's fine. Alright, the music going on in the background. Let's fix that. Just gonna do this. Right. Remove spells that are learned above level 6 from starting zone class trainers. These were primarily introduced in the first iteration of class changes by accident that are learned above level 60 or level 6. I don't know about any of this. But okay. Abilities that were changed to be baseline abilities or to be a talent learned ability in the first and second batches of class changes have had training prices updates to reflect that change. And there's something here with the tea with sugar now grant so-and-so health and mana instead of so-and-so. These items now stacked to 20 instead of 5. Developer note, this change allows demonic and dark runes to be a proper alternative to the tea consumables. Okay, so this was apparently something you could buy, maybe with a reputation. I don't know, but apparently they were better than these demonic and dark rooms, and now they've been increased to be as good as the dark rooms. And okay, to be a proper alternative to the tea consumables, granting more mana at a cost of health compared to less mana, a small amount of healing. Okay, the bow specialization granted by Tomb of Expertise bows in Hyjal is now not retarded but retired. This means the book no longer functions and is removed from all players. So there was apparently something that gave probably some bow skill, I can imagine, to players who didn't have that. Because I know the new race, High Elf, I'm pretty sure that has bow specialization. So probably they want to keep this unique for those, maybe. Maybe that's why. The book no longer functions and is removed. The quest is no longer available and removed from all players. Bow specialization is now removed from everyone that has learned it with this method. Everyone that has completed the quest will be refunded these bright dream shots, which is probably from a raid or something. So there's currency to buy this book. This does not affect races that have bow specialization as normal racials such as trolls and high elves. Yeah, I was right about the high elves thing, having that. That's also kind of, why would you pick a high elf and a troll hunter specifically to be better with bow skills if you can just get it for free? But anyway, you can probably do that anyway now, since they're making books that you can acquire, so via new quests. So sadly for those who already bought this book, now probably has to do some quests in order to get it. Anyway, moving on. Racial changes. These changes aim to reduce the gaps between racials and how much power they contribute to your character, especially in cases where some race class combos are much more dominant compared to other races. While we tune down severe examples of these, okay, orcs are for sure getting a nerf to the stun resistance. Let's see, maybe they're doing it the TBC style or RAF style, where is it RAF? It just reduces the duration of a stun instead of actually resisting it. I think it is, but let's see. Tune down severe examples of these. We've also added new racials, buffed or added new functionality to old racials of underperforming races that increase power, which was also done to races that got affected by the global nerf of weapon skill ratios. While making these changes, we have focused on making sure that all races remain flavorful and fit their race. Okay, this is awesome, because now you're creating even more depth. Like, compare this to Season of Disaster. I mean, Season of Dick sucking. This is gonna be extremely interesting if it is what I hope it is. Generally reduce the amount of weapons skill granted by racials from 5 to 3, okay? Human perception now also grants 2% increased physical and spell critical strike chance. That's impactful. That's powerful. Human spirit now allows 5% of mana and regeneration to continue during combat. That's also way more impactful than the 5 or 10% whatever spirit. That's actually, I think, can I just say, I'm going off on a tangent again, but I just can't help it, because this reminds me that I've always thought that spirit was a odd stat in vanilla, in basically up until Cataclysm, where they changed it to mastery. I think that spirit should have functioned in somewhat a different way. I think that spirit, imagine if spirit would give you spell damage or healing plus healing, whatever, and just at a lower rate. Like say you need for every I don't know five let's say 5 spirit, you get 1 plus damage and 1 plus healing, or maybe 2 plus damage, 1 plus healing. Something like that would make spirit much more interesting. And maybe also having something to do with in combat regeneration. I don't know, but just making it a more valuable stat. That's the point of it. You can always balance the numbers out, stuff like that, but just making it an interesting stat. I know that a lot of OG vanilla players, I watched some videos of the guy Palatine, this guy here. If I can find him. Never mind. Something like that. No. Never mind. I've watched some videos about his, and maybe I'll cut this out of the video. I don't know. Anyway, the thing is, he experimented with spirit, and it actually becomes quite a good leveling stat, but it just falls off fast as you gain levels. So I wish they would do something with spirit in general, but maybe they have in this version. I think that would create more interesting items to add that into the game. Some more diversity in terms of stat acquisition and how you how you gear your character. But now allows 5% of your mana regeneration to continue during combat. So that's pretty impactful. That's pretty neat. Not much, but if you can imagine if you add other items that has the same effect. I know that they did a lot of changes to existing items in the game. By weak items, they would add something like this to items that weren't picked, so that would actually impact your mana regeneration, which will impact your sustain and PvE, also PvP, of course. Stone form for the dwarf now reduces physical damage taken by 5% instead of increasing armor by 10%. So that's pretty much, yeah, maybe this is more. It's probably more, but it really depends on how much armor you have. For a priest, this is going to be more. For a warrior wearing a shield, this is probably going to be less. Right, then 10% is probably more, because it's still just physical. Maybe remove this word and just let it say reduce damage taken by 5%. Would that be too overpowered? Because then casters, they can actually, like, you're taking less damage from spells, which is probably the hardest hitting things in the game anyway, because it penetrates all armor. But yeah, is that all for dwarves? That's actually not much. Night Elf quickness now also increases your attack and casting speed and movement speed by 1%. Developer note: unlike other similar movement speed increasing effects, the movement speed granted by this racial additively stacks with other movement speed increasing effects. Okay, all right. It's not much, 1%, but we'll take it. Shadow Melt now persists for 2 seconds after being cancelled or moving. Interesting. Now we're gonna be stealth hunters. That's really interesting. So you move around, maybe even start casting your aim shot or whatever shot you've gotten now, and you'll still be invisible for the duration of the cast. That's cool. I like that. Cooldown increased from 10 seconds. Okay, 3 minutes. Holy shit. But at least hopefully maybe you can do it in combat as well, because that's a long cooldown. 3-minute cooldown on something like that. I think it's fair if you can maybe use it in, like you do in Wrath of the Lich King, where you use it as a second sort of feint death. Gnome. Escape artist cooldown has been increased from 1 minute to 1.5. Arcane resistance removed. New racial. Disassembler. Damage dealt versus mechanicals increased by 5%. That's very niche. I don't know what I think about this. As soon as there's something like specifically only against this type of enemy creature, I think that's overall a nerf to the gnomes, I think. High Elf. That's the new class or new race they added in Title WoW. High Elves are joined with the Alliance. Makes sense lore-wise. So for anyone like me who is big into the lore, you'll appreciate that one. And then some people will say, oh, well, the Alliance abandoned the High Elves and then they became the Blood Elves. Yes, some did, not everyone. Okay, Quel'Dorei meditation has seen a small rework. This was regenerating. I have it in a previous video that I made. It's regenerating your resources. So rage, energy, mana. Now activates for 1.5 second cast instead of being a 5-second channeling English. Not my first language. Now generates 10% total mana, 20 rage, 50 energy over 6 seconds instead of 4% maximum mana, blah, 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 blah. So it's actually been buffed a little bit, it seems like. Cooldown also been reduced from 6 to 3 minutes. Like 50 energy, but it's over 5 seconds. But that's pretty strong, I think. You are now given a specific version of the racial that generates only your resource instead of general one that generates them all. Oh, okay, I see. So if you're a rogue, you're of course not getting anything for rage and anything for mana. It just says now it generates 50 energy because you're a rogue. So you don't need this info and you don't need this info. So that's just as far as I'm understanding this. This means that if you're a mana user, your racial will now only generate mana. If you're a rogue, yeah. Warrior version. You are now considered in combat for the duration. This is to prevent rage decay while the racial is active. Ah, I see. But that's actually also a little bit of a nerf, right? Because you can't charge, unless they change that as well in the talents or abilities. You can't charge in combat, stuff like that. Arcane resistance removed. New racial swiftness for the ranger. Agility increased by 2%. That's hefty. Gonna be interesting to see. Does it still have lightning reflex? It does. We do have increased agility and increase your melee attack power by an amount equal to. Okay, so now this is going to be a real melee, maybe a combination of a melee and we'll look into this after. This is extremely exciting. I'm not going to lie, this is extremely exciting. I can't wait to dive into the talents. But we'll do the racials first, and then come the class changes, and then, yeah, I'll just, I'm not sure if I'm going to go over everything. Maybe I'll break the video up in chunks, so each class gets a separate video, where I just read whatever they've done and go over the talents, but and give you my impression, but let's just finish this up. Blood Fury for Orcs now increases your attack power and damage dealt by magical spells and effects by an amount equal to your level for 15 seconds. And reduces healing effects on you. So that's the same nerf for healing effects. And hardiness. That's the one I think they nerfed. Now reduce the duration. Yes, exactly what I expected. Duration by 15% instead of increasing your chance to resist stun. So that's a big nerf. That's a very big nerf for our dear orcs. But instead they got attack power and damage dealt by magical spells and effects equal to something with your level. So if you're level 60, is that 60 attack power and 60 magic and damage? No, it's probably not. It's probably some stat that they've figured out and scales with level. So a buff in that regard. We don't know the cooldown on this. Is it still, was it 2 minutes? I think it was 2 minutes before. So has this changed? It's probably not changed, because then they would say something about it being changed and they don't. So it's probably the same amount of same exact cooldown. I think it's 2 minutes. So it's also going to be interesting to see if this works for ranged attack power or if it's only for melee attack power. It would be a shame if it's only for melee attack power, because there are hunters out there. Troll, Berserking now grants between 10 and 15 attack and casting speed depending on how badly you are hurt, instead of between 10 and 30%. Berserking now grants between, oh, okay, so it's just a nerf, depending on how badly you're hurt, instead of 10 to 30%. Regeneration, this is interesting, now increases health regeneration by 20% instead of 10%, and allows 25% of your total health regeneration to continue in combat instead of 10. Damn, they've done something with the regeneration then. So they nerfed this, Berserking, but then this seems 25% of your total health regen to continue in combat instead of 10%. I don't know if it's actually that big, but it's definitely a big change in terms of numbers. I don't know if it actually converts too much, if it's going to make a big impact. Usually when I think about these things, I always think about PvP first, because in my opinion, that's the most important part to get down. It's PvP balance. Once PvP is balanced, you can work around PvE balance. Let's I can go off on another tangent, but I'll make it short. What I like about vanilla in PvE is that you don't bring a hunter for the extreme damage. You bring a hunter because you have to bring him for certain specific mechanics in the fight. You have to bring him for tranquilizing shot. You need to, in my opinion, double down on stuff like that. Okay, we need a hunter. We need a hunter because we need to tranquilize this boss, and unless we have a hunter, we're just not getting past this boss. So that should be the way that you include every single class and every single spec in the game, in my opinion, is through niche jobs you have in the raid. So say a rogue, you need a rogue in the suppression room to bring down the pillars, and so you can move across the room and not get wiped constantly. You need you need different classes for specific situations in a raid or PvE scenario. And I like the game like focusing on that instead of just raw numbers. Who can do the most DPS? Boring, right? We all want to be on the top of the DPS meters, but we probably shouldn't compare ourselves to a hunter. Shouldn't compare himself to a warrior anyway. And that's just going to change from fight to fight anyway. Thinking about Naxxramas, our bosses, they can't melee them, then we have to rely on ranged DPS and stuff like that. So hunters should compare themselves to hunters, and warriors should compare themselves to warriors, and it shouldn't be compared between classes. As long as PvP is balanced, I don't think there's much to complain about being like, I don't get it complaining about balance in PvE. It's just, yeah, in my opinion, PvP is where the balance needs to be at. But that's enough rant. Well, let's move on. Undead, Will of the Forsaken. Duration reduced from 5 seconds to 4 seconds, and it can't be activated while under crowd control. Okay, so now you have to activate it preemptively. You have to activate it before you get death coiled. So that's just going to add some really high skill to this racial. Shadow resistance removed. New racial, Vengeance. Damage against humanoid and undead is increased by 2%. So here's what I'm talking about. This is a clear advantage in PvP, while mechanical creatures is just an advantage in PvE. I don't like that, but that's just my opinion. Okay, this is basically just an overall nerf, in my opinion, and in terms of PvP. Remember, I'm usually thinking about PvP when I talk about balance. So that's going to be interesting. But of course, a lot of people were picking Undead and Orc because they were just the best PvPers. So maybe rightfully so, they had to be nerfed just slightly. War Stomp. Stun duration has been reduced from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. And that's all. That's just a nerf. All right. No, nothing with the herbalism has been changed. Nothing with the extra stamina or extra health. Gobbling. Exit strategy. Cooldown reduced from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Prospecting now grants mining and dual crafting skill instead of just mining. It's because they recently added dual crafting into the game, which is actually, I think this is sorely needed for vanilla, because every time you're leveling, you go on the auction house, you look for rings, you can see a few rings while you're leveling, but then you go to amulets and necks and you see just nothing. There's always only a few epics and very weak necks on the auction house, and once the game has been progressed enough, there's just no low level what's it called, necks, amulets on auction house, and it's a pain. It's always those slots that were left like forever. Like once you hit level 40, you'll get a neck. So I think dual crafting makes a lot of sense in terms of at least items for more added items for necks and rings and so on. And what's to say, chemical super freak removed. I can't remember what this is. I actually don't know what that is. But anyway, this is some sort of exit strategy, as far as I remember, is a semi-sprint. Very short duration sprint. So that's been buffed a little bit. Okay, now we move on to the class changes. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this. I don't know anything about the druid, and I can give my impression, but it's not really a class that I know much about, so I can't give you much feedback on what has changed. You can definitely see changes to the talent trees. They're getting their form a lot earlier, it seems like, for balance. So it's just so much, extremely. This is what I wish they did in Season of Discovery. Just took those runes, nerfed them a lot, and just implemented them into the talents. Not just this clunky way that they did it in Season of what's it called? I can't remember. Dick sucking, disaster, horror, bullshit, Discovery. That's the one. Yeah. But I think I'm gonna break things up into separate class videos. So this video is getting way too long, and let's do it this way. Watch the next video to see that class's specific class changes, and I'm gonna do a series of videos covering each class. So check them out now. It should be on the screen now, and I'll see you in the next video. And remember to like and subscribe on this video. Thank you. Appreciate it. See you.